Welcome to lesson 28 in the C# from start to finish course. My name is Tim Corey, and today we're going to add texting to our application. But before we get to that, I want to take a minute to say thank you. If you're watching this lesson, that means that you've purchased my full course. The reason I can produce videos is because people like you make it possible. And there's tons of ways you can spend your money. And I'm grateful that you consider my videos worth do it is just basic information. But once you're done, you'll come to this account page. And as a trial member, you have about $15.50 to spend on their service, which isn't a lot, but you'll notice that goes a really long way in testing. But before you get started doing anything, you need a Twilio phone number. And that's right here, this red get a number. So go ahead and click that, and it's going to give you a suggested phone number. Now I've blanked mine out. But take this phone number if you like it, or you can search for a different one. These phone numbers can do voice, SS, or SMS, and MMS. All right, so say choose this number. When you do, it's going to say congratulations, your new phone number is, and you can now create Twilio applications using that phone number. Now back on your account page, if you go to the account settings page, you'll see this. And right here you have your account SID, which mine's grayed out, account SID and your auth token. You'll need these two values plus your phone number. To see your auth token, just hit the little I here. These are things you do not share with people. Thus, I've grayed mine out. So with these pieces of information in your free account, you're good to go. I believe the phone number costs you $1 a month. And text messages are like 0.75 cents or something ridiculously low like that. So you can send out hundreds of texts and still use this trial account for months. So it really is a cost-effective way to start using their service. Now, texting on a trial account only allows you to send to a verified number. Meaning, you can verify a phone number by going through and filling out the phone number, having it text something to that phone number, and filling that back in, like a two-factor authentication. I've done that with my phone number, so I can text my own phone number, which is all you probably need to do for testing. The other thing to note is when you do send out a text message through this trial account, it's going to say sent from a Twilio trial account. So it's definitely not something you take to production. With all these restrictions, you want to make sure that you actually have a paying account. So there is some money output if you want to have this going forward, but that's pretty standard with any kind of texting system. However, like I said, that output of money is somewhere in the $15 to $20 a year range, unless you're sending lots and lots of text messages. So for our tournament tracker app, if you enabled that, you could probably get away with $20 for the entire year for all the tournaments. That'd be my estimate. Now you can go to Twilio's site, look at all the information, look at the pricing, and do your own math depending on your situation. But it really is a cost-effective plan. So that's the website side of things, getting things signed up. Now let's see the code side of things. And here I have our code where we have the alert person in the new round. And this is where you send an email to each person saying, hey, you've got a matchup coming up and here's the information. So we're going to do the same thing for texting. Now I could create an entirely new class like I did for email logic, and that might be useful. In fact, let's just do that for good form. The reality is we probably put it in line here as a private method because we're doing it once, but there may be more spots in the application where we need to send text messages. Or we can also simulate the idea of this texting information being in our standard library we have that I talked about earlier, where you have this personal library of code that you've already done once, and you just kind of bring it along to projects. Well, this would be a great one to have in your library because adding texting to applications isn't really hard, but it just makes it so much easier when you have it already pre-built. So let's right-click on Tracker Library, say Add Class, and we'll call this SMS Logic. We'll make this public. And now in here we'll create one method, public static void send SMS message. And we're going to say to message. So we'll have who we're sending it to and what the message is. So back over here in our tournament tracker settings, we will say SMS logic dot send SMS message. The to will be our person, so P dot cell phone number. And the message will be, let's put $, then 2 double quotes. We'll create it right in line here. And let's actually just take the logic from this line right here in our subject line. And we'll just paste it right in there. So you have a new matchup with this team. And that's it. So from our code side of things, that's all we need to add to send every single person on every single team a text message saying, go ahead and send this message to you. Now up here we have email address length equals 0 and return. So we'll need to address that so that it's, if they don't have an email address but they do have a cell phone number, that we still send them the text message. So let's adjust this logic by taking all of this code here that's email related, gonna cut it, and I'm gonna paste it in here and say not equal to 0. I'll take the return out. So if the email address length is not equal to 0, do this. Send a cell phone message. If email length is greater than 0, send an email. If neither is greater than 0, it's not going to do anything. And if both are greater than 0, it's going to send both. So that takes care of our tournament tracker system. Now let's actually set up our SSM or SMS logic. I keep wanting to say SSMS, which is SQL Server Management Studio, and that's something totally different. So in here, this is where the logic happens. So the first thing to do is add a reference using a NuGet package. But if you do have a box checked for pre-release, you need to make sure that you select the stable version and hit install. This will pop up. Just hit accept for the license agreement. It will add the packages we need. It'll say finished, and now we can close out of NuGet. And in here, we can say string account sid equals, we'll leave it empty for now, string auth token equals empty string. And we'll say Twilio client dot, actually control dot first to add the using statement for Twilio, dot init account sid and auth token. Now remember I said you had to grab the sid and the token from that account settings page? That's where these two go. Now I did not put any values here because we're going to come back to that and address how to do this right. Now this code is pretty much straight from their getting started tutorials, which is great. They provide code to get you started and get you running. And it's amazing. All right. The only thing that I am a little hesitant on is they actually put values in these fields. And that's not how I like to see it, because you don't hard code your API key or your tokens in your code. We'll put those in the app.config file. So we'll come back and do that. But next, message resource, do control dot to add the using statement, dot create, and then we have our options. Now the way their example does this, I'm going to follow their example just so you can see, we can talk through why they do what they do. Their example says to : new phone number, and you have to do control dot here to add the Twilio.types as a using statement. And they have in quotes the phone number, which in our case is just the 2 from our parameters right there. And then they have the from : new phone number. And we'll just say from for now. From phone number, because from is a reserved word. And body, and that would be the message. All right, and we called our message message. We'll call it text message. That we don't step on toes. So on the from phone number, I'm going to put up here. So we need these 3 pieces of information, which I told you need to have from your account page. And we're going to pull these from the app.config. So we'll get back to that, like I said. But down here, we have this message resource.create, which seems pretty straightforward. But then they have this to : And what does this really mean? Well, they're specifying the parameters in the order they want to, in the way they want to. So there may not be an overload that has to first, then from, then body. But they're saying we're going to pass in these three parameters. And as long as you have one that matches these three and has either defaults for the rest or doesn't have the rest of the parameters, we're good to go. Now, if we look at this right here, you'll see that we have the to, but then we have the path account SID, the from, the messaging service SID, the body, the media URL, the callback status, and all the rest, but all of them equal null, which means that these are all default values. The only thing we have to pass in is the to number. The rest is optional. Now, it's optional in terms of the method will accept you not passing in the other values. It's not optional if you're talking about actually trying to get this to work. So there's probably logic inside of the create method that says, yeah, I know everything I said was optional, but if you don't pass me a certain good combination, I can't send a message. So in this case, we've said the to is this number, the from, we skip this one, the from is this number, we skip this one, and said the body is this, and we skipped all the rest. So that's what the call actually is. When we call this .create, it actually sends the message. There is no .send or anything else like that. The return, this message right here, is the return value. That's just a information about the message that was already sent. So when this sends, it captures information about it sending and puts it in here. So in this short little bit of code, we have sent a text message. Now, again, it won't work until you actually fill this in, but let's do that. Global config .app key lookup and pass in the app key. So I will put this for all three of them. Isn't that convenient? We can just say, hey, look up an app key. And the app key here will be SMS account SID. And the account key, or the auth token, will be SMS auth token. SMS from phone number. All right, so those are our three keys. Now I'll open up our actual app.config. I'm actually going to pin this, or I'm sorry, make a new horizontal tab group. And then scroll down here so I can see those three and then create them. So add key equals value equals, nice try. I'm not going to tell you what that is. Add key equals, I actually have to say token, not toke. Message to each person who has a cell phone number in the system when their team is scheduled to play another team. And that's it. That's all it takes for texting. If you want information to log about what happened to that text message, to see if it worked, that kind of thing, message dot, here's all your information. Date created, date sent, date updated, direction, which would be in or out, any error code if it got one, error message, and all the rest of the information you need is all here. Even how much it cost to send that message. Now think about that. You could actually have a system where it captured the price that you send per message and added it to a total for that particular tournament. Maybe even have an upcharge where you say, I'm going to charge you double for every message. Just because they want to make a profit. And so if a tournament sent out 10 messages, they'd get billed for essentially 20 messages. Whereas if they send out 2,000 messages, no worries, they just get billed for 4,000. And so you could effectively segment who gets charged based on who uses the text message system. So there's a lot you could do here with this messaging beyond just alerting the users when they have a matchup. You could send out another one when everyone's complete. You could send out one before a tournament gets started where you said, okay, here's all the people that are in our database who have been players in the past. Send out a blast to all of them via text message saying, sign up by tomorrow for X tournament. So there's a lot you could do with this besides just what we're doing. But when it comes right down to it, that send message with the to and the actual message is all it takes to wire your application up for sending text messages. So after having some of those hard videos we did where it took an hour and a half or two to even explain part of what we're doing, this seems pretty simple, which is kind of awesome because it's also really powerful in what it can do. So I hope you found value in that. I hope you can take something from this and really dive deep into using it. But even if it's just a fun thing that you want to see, I think that it's of value. So thank you for watching. Again, thank you for subscribing. I really appreciate it. And I hope to see you in my next video series. As always, I am Tim Corey. Have a great day.